tabla, which is here. One second. Then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Composition by my father, Ustad Ali Akbar Khan sahib.
Guruji,
Anji.
What is so important for these, to learn the chanting raga? Why is it so important for them?
Well, our music is oral tradition and vocal music is first priority. It's like a swar gyan, the knowledge of swaras, or the notes. If you, just like knowing your alphabets, if you don't know your alphabets, how can you read or write? So by learning vocal music, you acquire the knowledge of knowing the notes and to be able to sing or to be able to play in tune. Because when you are learning an instrument, that vocal music helps you a lot. And anything in our tradition, anything we sing, we can play in the instrument, or if somebody is singing, we can also imitate in the instrument. So that's why we have to have this knowledge of Swargyan. And Tal, the rhythm, which is the next most important part of our music, just like having both the hands. Without the rhythm, music is it's not has no pran, no life.
There's tension and release.
Pardon?
The tension and release in music is important. Pulse is what you're talking about.
Yeah, pulse, of course. Because like this composition particularly was set to teen tal, like we have over 300 different talas of different measures, like 4 beats, 5 beats, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 goes up to 350 variations, and every composition can be in the same tal or different tal, like 7-beat cycle of Rupak or Jhap tal of 10 beats, and Dhamar of 14 beats, and like that, So,
Can you talk a little bit about how your grandfather taught you this? Was it the same? Were you in a circle, or was it just you in a room solo, or doing dishes, or what were you doing?
well, I was 5 when he
5 years old.
Right. He started with vocal music and with a little baby sarod, and he used to mark down, because sarod doesn't have any frets, so he used to make mark on the plate. So this is your sa, this is your re, this is your this finger, this is your this finger, this is your this finger, and this is the stroke of a sarod, because you have to have a java, we call it, is a striker made out of coconut shell, and this is the stroke known as a da, this is known as a ra. So all these techniques, slowly, then I started practicing 12 hours a day, 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, 4 in the night. And I had a private tutor who used to come at 11 in the morning, and I had to do some, there was not a good school because it was a village town, Maihar, Madhya Pradesh. So that's how gradually my hours, not 12 hours in the beginning, but slowly, it became more and more. And then he used to teach one at a time in his own room. So teaching hours were not fixed. Anytime he'll call, you have to be prepared. He can call anytime during the day or during the evening. And teaching is, he never looked at the watch. It can go on for 4 hours, 5 hours, 3 hours, depending what time of the day it is, So this is how I learned different rags, different tal, and I had to practice vocal music as well. I had to practice the instrumental music.
You see a difference in terms of, do you have students that are doing the same kind of regimen, 12-hour day of practice, or we live? Is the tempo of society too fast now?
Yeah, now people have to do so many, and some parents, they want their children to play soccer or cricket or badminton, whatever, and they also do the swimming, and then they want to do the housework. And some students come to me, did you have practice? No, I had to go for swimming lesson. So this is how our society presents us. I had nothing else. I used to get only 1 hour in the evening to go out, play soccer, because soccer field was next to my home. Or then he made a badminton court in his courtyard, so I used to play badminton. I was very good in badminton. And I also played a little bit of cricket myself, and hockey.
Yeah, you played. So you had you were the same way. You had a full life. You had a full play, but you still were. I mean, again, your father was there and your grandfather was there.
No, my father was not there. My father was not there. Away. I was been raised by my grandmother and my grandfather, and because I was the first grandchild, so they didn't wanted me to go away from them. So I was being. Actually, my grandmother is my mother and grandfather is my father in a way, because they raised me,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was very fortunate to have a grandfather. He was more guru than a grandfather, because our relationship was very different. I used to avoid him all the time because I used to be always scared of him because he was so strict, Sometimes I used to forget my lessons, so he'll give a nice beat up,
Yeah, so he would that would be the punishment.
The last time he gave me a beating with a cane, and that put me to had a fever, and my grandmother was so angry with him. Why are you going to kill this boy? And I had a fever for 2 weeks. I was so he promised, and then also he used to say, "Do you think I'm beating him?" And he used to cry in his bedroom, and he said, "I want him to learn this music. That's why." I used to forget. That was my bad part of my memory. But I never cheated him. But
he knew you could be Guruji. He knew that, right? That's why he was so hard. It's the same. It's the famous Indian family story. The wife always says, "Why are you so hard on them?" Right. In this case, your mom, your grandma.
Yeah.
Why, if you think he has so much talent, why do you treat him so poorly? But Aludin, can you talk to the audience about when he went to meet Duke Ellington?
No, Duke Ellington came first time to India. I think it was early 60s, and my Father was invited to see him at the Grand Hotel Calcutta, but I never got to see him. But I saw his live band. He had a brass band.
You saw the live band.
Yeah, of course.
Did they come? They didn't come to your village.
I didn't see him personally. Yeah, because I think he was not well or something.
Well, he wasn't even present.
No.
But you saw the band.
Band, yeah, of course. That
And I-
really blew my mind because it was all brass,
As opposed to string.
Right.
But the blues, how did you incorporate the blues into your sound, Aashish?
Blues, I found more melodic because our music is melodic. So first thing, I heard the whole composition, and he also presented his album to my father, LP, those days. And
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah.
Classic that he gave those albums. Duke,
Yeah.
there's a picture of him playing a sitar somewhere.
Yeah. So blues somehow I liked it because it was melodic, and that's probably the reason. And I was not that much matured at that age because I was hardly 15 or 16, And this was my first experience of a jazz music and the brass band. So I was quite, And then I came to America in '67 with my father. Then I got exposed to a lot of music, a lot of different music, and I was fascinated. And I, especially the first time I heard the classical guitar by Bola Sete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Explain, because it's mainly slide guitar in India.
And the slide.
So tell the audience what it was when you heard him play classical guitar that blew your mind.
Because first of all, he was doing all his finger picking and so many different style of flamenco and classical. So that I never heard or never seen something like that, So that blew my mind to see that guitar is played in a different style, because in India they always play the slide guitar, Hawaiian guitar they call it, and it's always accompanying Ravindra's Sangeet, the Tagore music, which is known as Ravindra Sangeet, and with the vocal they accompany the slides. Some people also play classical guitar, but it was not that much popular those days in classical. Very, very few people used to play classical. Now it has become a most popular.
Yeah, that's
more
right.
Strings and things like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
When did you actually connect with George Harrison?
He came to Banaras to learn from Ravi Shankar, and he stayed in a Banaras in a hotel. I also stayed in the same hotel. That's the time I was acquainted with him, and then he left. And then '67 December, I was touring with my father to England, to Europe, and he came to my hotel one day, and he asked me, "Would you play for my movie called Wonderwall?" I said, "Why not?"
Wonderwall.
Yeah.
Wow.
Film was not even made, but he was recording a lot of Indian music in India with different famous musicians like Shiv Kumar Sharma and some other musicians. And then I went to studio. I never recorded in a 4-track, and it was fascinating for me. And
Wait, but Ringo, they all showed up at like 3 a.m, and they were like, "Let's do a jam."
that's a different story.
Oh, that's
Yeah. This is a Wonderwall. This is Wonderwall.
Wonderwall, okay.
Yeah, Wonderwall, and I recorded, a piece in I think Khamaj or something, with Mahapurush Mishra on tabla.
Mm.
And then he asked me to overdub. I said, "What is overdub? I've never heard of it." So then he said, "You play in another track, listening to your original track, do something." So I did, and he liked it, and he gave me a special name on my on the album. My name was given. Then in '68, I was doing a film. It was a Indo-Pakistan collaboration, and there was a song based on the pop music, rock and roll, but I didn't have much experience about that music. So I just wrote the melody, and then I asked George, "Could you please help me?" Because I have no idea about rock and roll music. So at 3 a.m, he arrives with his entourage, Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, Billy Preston. So I even didn't know much about them. And then he heard the melody. Yeah, it was some experience for me, a life's experience. So then he recorded. He he chose the lick, and and then it took us about couple of hours, I think, and then he left, and that was my first. And then Eric Clapton was not even known at that time. Billy Preston was very famous because of his piano, and he used to wear a huge
The big hat, yeah.
big wig.
He was already well known, but
Yeah.
Clapton was not well known.
Yeah, no, Clapton was not known.
Just for people out there watching around the world, I want you to talk about your father's philosophy. He could have been, I dedicated a lot of my show to your father, spiritually, just in the idea of he could have been a pop star. He could have gone around the world and made a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And his whole philosophy was, no, I want to give back. In fact, I want to promote and inspire people.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about inspiration? When you did connect with your father, do you feel like you had a good relationship with him, and what was inspiration to your father?
Actually, I started having to stay with my father.
People want to see you.
Yeah,
Look at the camera. Yeah.
1956, when he decided to settle down in India, and he started his school in Calcutta, Aligarh College of Music. And then that's the time I was with him. I used to go with all his concerts. I used to play with him. Sometimes I used to play Tanpura. And the hardest part used to be he's playing like 3 concerts in the evening, starting early evening, and ending like in the morning, it's like 8 or 9, and I had to play Tanpura. And then he said, keep tal. So I was falling asleep, one hand Tanpura, one hand keeping the tal, because he used to play with all these masters like Kishan Maharaj, Shanta Prasad, were main, and Karamatullah Khan Sahab, anyway, so at some time I used to play with him. Then in 56 when he came, 56 was in Calcutta. That's the time I had my father with him all the time, living with him. And then in 67 he brought me to America to teach Indian music and system. That's the time I had all the experience of listening to all different kind of music.
Was that stuff that you sought out, or was he actually eager to expose you to that music? He was like, you can riff on that.
No, he was very open-minded, and we had a very good, friendly relationship. And I was to be very open, and he was to be very open, just like friend, not showing, like typical Indian father,
Right, he was mellower.
Very mellow, and I have never seen him getting angry or mad, or he was very patient person, very peaceful. And so I was very fortunate to have a father like him. And also I played with him in Hollywood Bowl, which was arranged by Ravi Shankar. It was a festival from India in 1967.
What was the name of? It was just an Indian music festival.
Yeah, he used to call the Festival of India.
Wow. Oh, that okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and he invited a lot of musicians from India, like Shiv Kumar ji, then Shami Mehmad, and Alar Khan Sahab was there, and Palghat Raghu from South, the Nangam. So this used to be a great experience for me to play with my father in a Hollywood Bowl, and his audience of 20,000 people. And also Bismillah Khan Sahab, the great Shehnai player from Banaras, he also came to that festival.
Did your dad have a style in Indian music where he played the head of the tune, and then you would leave and improvise, and just how free? Did you ever play the same song once with your father?
Definitely, like we call it a gat.
How do you spell?
G-A-T.
Gat.
Gat which is a fixed composition from a different tal, teen tal, urpak tal. So that's like a theme. We have to keep it playing, and then you have to improvise, then come back to the gat. So like that. So I learned a lot of compositions from him in a different tal and different gat and in different rag. So these are like a song. You have to remember, like if you're playing certain rag, you have learned that gat, or like a song. So you repeat that song, and then you improvise on your own ideas.
this is how it goes. Yeah.
Can I ask you, each of you, you can introduce yourself. Tell me your name.
Oh, hi, my name is Evan Sutterfield.
How long have you been practicing with or studying with Guruji?
So this is my first day in his class.
First day.
Yes.
All of you first day?
No.
Second day. And you?
I've learned from him for years.
Can you talk? What is your ethnic background?
I'm a Sikh from Punjab in India.
Beautiful.
Northern part.
How long have you been in the States?
Been in the States since 2001, but I've never lived in India. I wasn't born in India. I was born in Thailand. So
It's pretty.
my
It's a
connection-
gumbo there.
Yeah, so my connection through all this music has been through my parents, and then my violin teacher, and then now Guruji.
Do you talk about the significance? How you're younger than me. I mean, can you talk about how the significance of music has changed in society, in your view?
I think music still plays a big part in society. I mean,
You don't believe the
it's-
United States' culture is being stifled?
I think it depends on what perspective you look at it. I mean, if you think about the classical arts, I do feel it's not where it was at, like I would say 50, 60 years ago. But if you're talking other music, then that definitely has a huge...
I'm just talking about I'm talking more about like improvisational music and the homogenization
Yeah.
of individuals. But more to the point, tell me about how Guruji Aashish Khan made you be yourself playing.
So my previous Guruji was also part of the same school of music. She learned from Guruji's father, and
Ali Akbar Khan.
Ali Akbar Khan Sahib, and coming to Ashishta was a seamless transition for me. I didn't feel like I was learning something completely new. It was what he taught me was also very challenging, but it was also something that I had familiarity with because I've learned from the same school of music.
What did he teach you?
He taught me a lot of he taught me a lot of tals that weren't common. So
Really?
He said a lot of things where, you know, everyone plays in 16, everyone plays in 10, everyone plays in 7. So he taught me 8.5, he taught me 12.5. He's taught me rags that not many people play. So just things in the sense of how to develop yourself as a musician. And a lot of these things that he's taught me has helped me through my practice and helped me get better as a musician.
Do you play gypsy music on the street sometimes?
No, I don't.
Never?
No.
Interesting. This is everybody else's first or second day?
This is my second year
Your second year.
studying with Guruji.
Talk about and project your voice for the audience. But what has been Can you talk about an inspiring, teachable moment with Aashish Khan?
Yeah, it's been moments when I don't feel confident playing the sarod, that he's sitting with me and working through exercises over and over again. So it's kind of feeling redundant, I'm sure, from his perspective, but the patience and resilience and that has been very inspiring.
Does he talk to you about your own internal heartbeat and your time feel? I mean, does he focus on rhythm more than improvisation?
Right, yeah, we have exercises anywhere from 1 to 16 beats and different manifestations of these. So definitely the pulse is changing depending on the exercise.
Outside of that, why do you continue to learn here? I mean, I think most of the cats I talked to were self-taught, you know, and so I wonder sometimes, like in academia, you know, what are you looking to grow in most as a musician?
I think an understanding of the music as its own entity rather than something that should always be understood in Western terms, pedagogically speaking, you know, if it has to be written down. It's beneficial and everything, but kind of the vocal tradition is being lost, and that's why to be part of that as a student, you're kind of contributing to its existence, you know.
What vocal tradition are you referring to, by the way, just for the audience's sake?
You know, any vocal tradition, but this one specifically.
The Sargam is amazing. Ashish, after you take a picture, I just have one final question for you. Neil Seidel is tuning in. Brother Zakir, Steve Leach, Francisco Garcia formed, in my mind, the fusion started in the West with Dizzy Gillespie and Chano Pozo. That was in the mid-'40s. Because you were blending bebop or jazz with Cuban rhythms. Okay, but Shanti was the first world music band, and I want you to talk about how you still bring Shanti. Will Shanti come back together again? I think it's important for the world to hear that music. It's some of the most burning music I've ever heard in my life. I just want you to talk about Shanti, how it came to be, and what you've been doing as far as keeping that music alive.
Shanti idea came because Neil Seidel, Steve Leach, and Steve Hale, Frank Lupica, they were planning to do some recording, and they came to my producer Richard Bach, who was known as Dick Bach, who has produced Ravi Shankar.
World Pacific.
Yeah, a lot of Indian music. He's the first one
Yeah.
to do that. So they came to him and they wanted some Indian musician to record with their songs. So Richard Bach asked me whether I would like to do it. So I said yes, and then we recorded one of their songs, and that gave me the idea, why not we collaborate and write some music for them, and I should play with them and like that. So this is how the Shanti was born, the idea.
Francisco Lupica, thank you.
Yeah. And with me was on tabla, dholak was Zakir Hussain, and my brother Aashish Khan. So we three Indians and our four American friends like Steve Hale, Neil
Leach,
Seidel, Steve Leach, Frank Lupica, and then we started practicing. Then he arranged a place, some auditorium where we used to just go there and practice every day in front of audience. Then we
cut the album at Mickey Hart's barn.
No.
Or there was a live broadcast out of there. There's pictures from that.
Yeah, a lot of live broadcast was done from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Then we decided to. Then he sold us to Atlantic Records.
Dick Bach did.
Dick Bach, yeah. And then we recorded this album in San Francisco studio, and then we had a tour of East Coast. And our first concert was in Chicago with the original Chicago group in a jazz club. And when their manager heard us, and Chicago was the warm-up group, and Shanti was the next. So their manager asked our manager, why not we do a tour together? But somehow our manager was really, has no brain.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't accept that. And I was new to this country at that time. I didn't know all these games, and politics. So anyway, we lost that, and we had a good tour. We didn't make any money. Then some people got very jealous of Shanti because it was the talk of the country, not just the talk of the world. In fact, my mother used to listen to Voice of America from India, and the theme's music was the Shanti. And so,
really?
Yeah. They used to broadcast the
that is
music.
Oh man.
Yeah, Voice of America introduced you before, like a theme music for the radio. And she used to always tune to the Voice America because it was a Hindi and English program. And some people got very scared that I'm going to be the superstar, our band is going to be the best band. And it was the best band at that time. So they bribed our manager, which we came to know later.
Wow.
So and we were so broke, we didn't even have $1 in our pocket. I mean, we were so broke. And our equipments were taken away. They were given back to the, where Dick Bach brought them. Then after we are gone everywhere, Zakir joined the Shakti group with John McLaughlin.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was struggling to put that band together, but I did not find any producer, no record company, nothing, just going almost door to door. And later we found that our manager was bribed about $30,000 so that our band doesn't, stay together. And we had a booking about $40,000 to $50,000 of concerts in East Coast, which we did not know at that time.
This is kind of a heartbreaking story. For people in 50 years that will watch this, why was your grandfather the father of Indian music? What was he doing first? Was it orchestration? Was it orchestrated pieces? What are the things that made him the father of Indian music?
Well, he was very open-minded person of any kind of music, and he toured with Uday Shankar, the great dancer who brought actually Indian culture, dance and music. People don't know about him, and he worked with him, and he went to Europe, and he heard all these Western music and symphonies and orchestra, and his favorite composer was Beethoven. So when
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, I still have a photograph in his bedroom.
He used to get 78s from Europe and come back with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And in fact, he had a Yodi Menuhins when he was 8 or
Mhm.
10 years old. That recording, anyway. So that inspired him. And there was a time when there was an epidemic in Maihar. A lot of parents, a lot of people died, and their children were orphans. So the Maihar Maharaja asked my grandfather, why don't you teach these kids some music? And they were raised by my grandmother. She was like a mother of all these
Yeah.
20, 25, I don't know how many.
She was mother to all of them.
All the kids, yeah.
All the orphan kids.
Orphan kids, yeah.
Your grandmother or mother?
Yeah.
Your grandmother.
My grandmother, yeah.
Which is your mother?
No, my mother was with my father in a different part of the
Mhm.
India. Anyway, so she, yeah. I think my father. No, I'm sorry. My father was hardly 18 or 16 when the band was finally was together. So they were all young kids. So this is how the Maihar used to call band, because the band word was very popular because of the British. They used to have a brass band and things like that. So Maihar band, it was not originally a Maihar band, but technically it should be Vadya Vrind. That's the orchestral name for Indian orchestra. With it, he had different instruments. He invented an instrument called sitar banjo. Like the bottom part was like a banjo, and the neck was like sitar with frets, and he had to play with a striker. So he invented that. Then he invented the nal tarang. Nal means the pipe. What happened, one day he was visiting the Maharaja, and the guard, I think probably he was standing and probably fell asleep, and so his gun fell, and it was rolling down the stairs. So my grandfather said, what is that? What is that? And then went and found it was a gun which fell down, and that steel, the pipe of the gun had made that noise. So he asked the Maharaja, can I get some of these pipes? I want to invent an instrument out of it. So he invented by cutting the pipes, and it's called nal tarang. Nal means the pipe, tarang. Tarang means the wave, and that's how he invented that instrument. It became very popular, and there was a person called Jhurre Lal, who was the master musician who could play that. And he has a very fine, very sweet tone. Still we have it in Maihar. The orchestra is no more that big. It used to be, because our government is totally not interested in art or music.
The Indian government.
Yeah, and especially the MP government, the Madhya Pradesh government, they're getting money from the central, but they're not doing anything for the Maihar Vadya Vrind. And
Wow.
now only 4 people alive, and rest are all because we have.
Who were the 4?
Yeah, I mean there used to be probably 30-40 musicians, and they have a rule like after certain age you have to retire. This is the government rule in India. So
Right.
Yeah. So now only 4 musicians left, and I've been fighting for last 20 years. I'm asking them, please give some musicians, but they're hiring the people who have no knowledge of music, because there's a law that you have to give a job to scheduled caste. And I don't mind scheduled caste, but the thing is that you have to find somebody to teach them, or they should have some knowledge about music. They just come and sign the register and getting the salary every month.
Right.
Yeah, and
It's greed.
Yeah,
It's greed.
Yeah, and so it's dying. My grandfather's compositions are there in some old recordings, but this present situation is extremely bad and extremely sad. That this should be a this is a national treasure. If he was in the Western world, probably his orchestra would have saved by like composer like Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, and Tchaikovsky. They would have saved it. He had many compositions, over hundreds of different ragas, taras, and interesting composition. And so it is a.
Is
sad,
it because
yeah.
is it suffering the lineage of the Indian music because you can't quantify spiritual music? I mean, is the government obsessed with data? It seems like the gurujis that used to come, the wise men. We get a lot of good scientists and people that really are good quantitative thinkers, but the qualitative component of music, you can't quantify it. Is that why it's suffering?
No, it's a lack of guru like my grandfather, and the present gurus, they don't even have complete.
Are they really
knowledge.
gurus or no? Are they gurus?
They are not gurus, but they call themselves. Gurus.
Well, that's so. What is that? That is a fine line. What are they lacking in your mind, Aashish?
Well, they want shortcut. They just learn few lessons and then try to be big star, and that's why the music quality has deteriorated. And I'm trying my best. So far, I have few good students, and I follow the style of teaching of my grandfather, and they are doing well. One of my student, his name is Aashish Mukherjee. He's teaching in Russia at the music conservatory, and my nephew Shiraz Ali, I'm teaching him to keep this family tradition, to continue this tradition, this legacy of our music. And we have few other students. They are playing like a Devanjan. You might see him in the YouTube. He's playing. He's doing very well. So far, whatever they have learned from me. And there is another student, Deshari Chakrabarti. He plays the santoor, and he's very good at santoor. And he has chosen to be a composer and also film director. And he has made a documentary on Uday Shankar. People should see that. And so all my students are doing well, and I hope my nephew Shiraz will continue this tradition. Yeah.
Tomorrow is the first day of fall. Your grandfather would teach you all seasonal ragas.
Yeah.
Could you sing a fall raga for the audience before we go?
Yeah. Actually, there are ragas for rainy season,
monsoon season,
rainy season and spring. So I will sing the rainy season rag, Desh Malhar. So this is the sa. Let me give the don because I have
technology, man. I love it.
Yeah. Well, now we have instant tanpura. Yeah. The ascending, descending of these Malaris. Ni sa re ma pa ni sa sa ni da pa ma ga re ga sa ni sa re ma ga re ma pa ni da pa ma pa ni sa re ni da pa re ma pa da pa ga re ga sa. This is Desh Malhar. Then another popular rag for the rainy season is called Miya Ki Malhar. It does not have a straight ascending descending, but it has a ascending descending this way. sa re ni sa da ni pa ma pa ni da ni sa re pa ma pa ni da ni sa re ni sa da da ni pa ma pa ga 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 ma re sa sa re ni sa ni da ni sa. So these two ragas are very popular in Sikhism.
Guruji, Aashish Khan, much love to you, man, and I hope the people enjoyed this all over the world. It's an honor to connect with you, brother. Thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
This is the Jake Feinberg Show. See you later.